In the beginning of time, the universe was a vast void where chaos reigned supreme. However, the stillness was shattered by the majestic presence of Shu, the god of air, and Tefnut, the goddess of moisture. Together, they danced among the clouds, their entwined bodies forming storms and rains that sprang forth from the earth. "Let us create a new world, Tefnut," Shu proclaimed, his voice echoing like thunder. "A place where life can thrive under the warmth of the sun." In response, Tefnut smiled, her essence radiating the moisture needed to soothe the flames of chaos. With a powerful gesture, Shu separated two beings who would become the foundation of creation: Geb, the earth, and Nut, the sky. Upon seeing their children rise, the gods felt a wave of joy and hope. "Now, the world can prosper," Tefnut affirmed, her tears sparkling like dew at dawn. As Geb and Nut, in their separation, began to fall in love, the earth, in her deep affection for the sky, gave birth to a new cycle of life. In a subtle embrace, Geb's fertility intertwined with Nut's vastness, and thus, from their union, Osiris, Isis, Seth, and Nephthys were born. The gods, with their immense powers, were destined to rule the world, their distinct personalities representing the aspects of life and death, light and darkness. Meanwhile, high in the heavens, Ra, the first pharaoh and god of the sun, observed the beauty of creation. With his light illuminating the world, he descended to earth, his imposing presence resonating like a flash. "May order and justice prevail," he proclaimed, summoning the gods for a meeting. The atmosphere was charged with anticipation, and he knew that balance was at risk. Apep, the serpent of chaos, is moving in the shadows. "We must unite to protect the harmony we have created." The gods exchanged glances, concern spreading like a shadow. "How can we face this threat?" Isis questioned, her voice strong yet laden with anxiety. "We must be prepared for whatever comes," Osiris added, determined to uphold the peace they had established. The presence of Apep was a portent that the battle for order was only just beginning. Ra, with his face illuminated by the sun's glow, gathered Osiris and Seth in the great council chamber, where the walls were adorned with hieroglyphs narrating the gods' victories. The atmosphere was tense, reflecting the gravity of the situation they were facing. The sun god looked at the brothers, his voice resonating like thunder. "My sons, the shadow of Apep stretches over Egypt. He has caused destruction in the underworld, and his forces of chaos threaten the order we have fought to establish. We must unite our powers to confront this voracious serpent." Osiris, with a serious demeanor, replied, "Ra, we know that Apep feeds on fear and discord. If we do not act now, the lives of mortals will be in danger. I am willing to fight by your side." Seth, on the other hand, shook his head defiantly. "And why should I trust you, Osiris? You have always been the favorite, while I am seen only as the destroyer. What guarantees me that this union isn't a trap to further undermine me?" "Enough of rivalry, Seth," Ra intervened with the authority that was his. "Unity is our only chance to defeat Apep. If we continue to divide, chaos will reign. Let us act together as brothers." Meanwhile, in a distant corner of the realm, Isis and Nephthys, worried about the fate of mortals, decided to investigate the destruction caused by the serpent. They gathered in a devastated field, where the ground lay barren and echoes of pain were palpable. "Look, Isis," Nephthys said, pointing to deep marks in the sand. "Apep is leaving his mark. He is draining the vital energy from mortals, and this is just the beginning. We must alert Ra and our brothers. If this continues, the order we have worked so hard to maintain will be destroyed." Isis replied, her gaze resolute. "We cannot allow chaos to prevail." The sisters headed toward the palace, their minds buzzing with the urgency of the situation. The fate of Egypt depended on their action. They knew that without the intervention of the gods, mortals would face a dark future. Thus, while Osiris, Seth, and Ra discussed their unity against Apep, Isis and Nephthys prepared to reveal the true extent of the danger threatening their world, aware that every second counted in the struggle between light and darkness. Apep slid through the shadows, his serpentine form twisting in the depths of the dreams of mortals and gods. He whispered seductive promises, instilling doubt in the minds that were once united. In every nightmare, he sowed discord, transforming trust into suspicion and friendship into rivalry. Meanwhile, in a secret meeting, Seth sat in the shadows, his mind swirling with Apep's words. "You could be more than just a mere background figure, Seth," Apep's voice echoed in his ear. "Why settle for living in Osiris's shadow? True power is within your grasp, if only you dare to seize it." Hesitant, Seth looked down, the serpent's words penetrating his heart. "And how could I do that?" he questioned, curiosity mingling with doubt. "Join me. We will combine our strengths and bring down Osiris. He is not worthy of the throne he occupies. You are the true ruler that this world needs," Apep insisted, his eyes shining with a malevolent light. Meanwhile, Isis, the goddess of wisdom and magic, felt the chains of disunity forming among the gods. In her quest for answers, she found Nephthys, her sister, worried and anxious. "I feel that something is wrong, Nephthys. The gods are drifting apart, and Apep's influence is growing." "I see it too, Isis. We must act before it's too late," Nephthys replied, her voice trembling with urgency. "But how can we unite the gods when they are consumed by doubt? We need a plan, a message of hope that resonates in their hearts," Isis said, her determination growing. "If we can reach Seth before he falls completely under Apep's influence, perhaps we can save the unity of the gods." With a heavy heart, Isis set off in search of Seth, determined not to let darkness invade those she loved. However, as she approached her brother, she had no idea of the seeds of betrayal that had already taken root in his mind. Apep's shadow spread, and the fate of the gods was about to be challenged in ways they could never imagine. The hot, dry breeze of the desert blew through the underworld, where darkness became increasingly palpable. Ra, with his resplendent form, entered the shadows, determined to confront Apep. His eyes shone like the sun he represented, reflecting the justice and order he so desperately sought to restore. The colossal serpent coiled around the rocks and caves, its malicious gaze fixed on the sun god. "You cannot defeat chaos, Ra," Apep hissed, his voice echoing terrifyingly in the depths of the underworld. "I am the very essence of disorder. With every blow you try to strike, I will rise stronger. Today, your malignant influence ends," Ra retorted, his powerful voice resonating like thunder. "This world belongs to the light, and I will not allow you to consume it." Meanwhile, on the surface, Osiris, concerned about what could happen, summoned an assembly among the gods. He looked into the eyes of his sister Isis, who watched him with a mixture of hope and worry. "We need to unite our forces, Isis. If Ra fails, the order we defend will be in peril." "I agree, brother. But how can we help Ra if we are divided?" Isis replied, her voice heavy with determination. "Apep's influence has already infiltrated us, and Seth seems further away than ever." Seth, listening from a distance, felt the weight of his actions. He had distanced himself from his brothers, ensnared by Apep's seductive promises of chaos. The desire for power consumed him, and the idea of a coup against Osiris became increasingly tempting. "Why should I join you?" he murmured to himself, his mind agitated. "If Apep offers me the strength to take the throne, why not accept it?" Back in the underworld, the battle between Ra and Apep reached epic proportions. Ra struck with beams of light, while Apep unleashed waves of darkness. Each impact echoed like thunder, reverberating through the foundations of the world. The ground trembled under the force of their clash as light and shadow intertwined in a frenzy of power. "You may be strong, Ra, but I am eternity," Apep provoked, advancing with a serpentine motion, trying to ensnare the god in his treacherous grasp. Ra, taking a deep breath, focused his energy. "The light will never go out while I am here." He called upon the power of the sun, releasing a wave of intense heat that illuminated every corner of the underworld, forcing Apep to momentarily retreat. On the surface, Osiris felt the intensity of the battle and knew time was running out. "We must act now," he exclaimed, turning to Seth. "This is no time for rivalries. Apep is the true threat." Seth hesitated, wrestling with his ambition. Chaos became increasingly tempting, but loyalty to his brothers still resonated within him. He felt he was on the brink of a choice that could change the destiny of all. What would he decide? The war between light and shadows was far from over, and the future of the world depended on his next actions. The daylight slowly dissipated, leaving a golden trail on the horizon as Ra, exhausted, watched the emergence of Apep, who coiled in shadows, promising to return. The sun god, with his skin still radiant, knew the victory was temporary. "He will come back, and when he does, we must be prepared," he murmured, gazing at the brothers gathering around him. Osiris, with a worried expression, turned to Seth, who stood apart, his gaze dark and averted. "Seth, we need to unite our forces. Apep is stronger than ever. We cannot allow chaos to reign again," Osiris said, his voice heavy with urgency. Seth crossed his arms, a wry smile forming on his lips. "Why should I care? I've always been in your shadow, Osiris. You never noticed that, did you?" The rivalry between the brothers hung in the air like a miasma, thick and suffocating. Isis and Nephthys, concerned, stepped closer, trying to mediate the tension. "Brothers, please," exclaimed Isis, her voice soft yet firm. "Apep is the true enemy. We cannot let our personal disputes lead us astray. We need to act as a family, as the gods we are." Nephthys, in a gesture of support, nodded in agreement. "It's true. Division only strengthens Apep. We must unite to protect what we love." Seth, however, shook his head. "It's not that simple, Isis. The light you cherish so much also blinds you. I see the power that could be mine, and it calls to me. Apep, offer me something you never could, freedom." Tension escalated, and Osiris, frustrated, raised his voice. "This is madness, Seth. You cannot ally yourself with chaos. Think of the consequences." Seth stepped forward, rage coursing through him. "And what if I want to? What will you do, Osiris? Stop me? You've always been the favorite, the hero. It's time for that to change." In that moment, the atmosphere crackled with electricity, and Isis, fearing the situation might spiral out of control, intervened. "Stop! This is not the time to attack one another. We must fight together, not against each other." But the rivalry had intensified, and Isis's words seemed to echo into an abyss. The impending family battle was inevitable, and the shadow of Apep, though temporarily pushed back, still loomed over them, waiting to be unleashed once more. The serpent Apep, with his malevolent gaze and sinuous body, emerged from the shadows of the underworld, his presence sending a chilling breeze through the air. He faced the gods with a cynical smile, revealing the betrayal that had unfolded in the darkness. "Oh, how naive you all were," he whispered, his voice echoing like a breeze. "It was Seth who freed me in exchange for power. The true essence of chaos, my dears, lies in unbridled ambition." Osiris, eyes locked on Seth, felt a heavy weight in his heart. "How could you, brother?" His voice trembled with pain and condemnation. "Did you think power could replace brotherhood?" Seth, head bowed, felt the words cut like blades. I just wanted to be recognized," he murmured, searching for the right words. Apep promised a throne, a position of respect. I didn't want to be just Osiris's brother. And now what do we have? Isis intervened, her gaze determined. A chaos that could have been avoided. "We need to unite, brothers, before Apep consumes us all." Nephthys, who had remained silent until then, nodded. "Unity is our only salvation. If we don't act together, what remains of us will be reduced to ashes." Apep, satisfied with the discord, laughed. "Unite? What a joke. You are weak and divided. I am stronger than ever." But Osiris, resolute, raised his hand. No, Apep, you've underestimated the power of unity. Together, we are stronger than any individual ambition. With a unified shout, the gods prepared for the final battle. Ra, with his radiant light, called on the others to join him. In the name of Mot, let us protect the world we have built. The battle intensified, and the energy of the gods shone like an aurora. Seth, now realizing the gravity of his actions, fought alongside his brothers, his strength renewed by the determination to redeem himself. "Forgive me, please. I didn't know what I was doing," he cried as he joined Isis and Nephthys in a coordinated attack against Apep. Like a lightning bolt, Ra descended from the sky, his blinding light piercing through the shadows. The serpent, surrounded, realized his time had come. "No, this cannot be." Apep screamed as the united force of the gods enveloped him, disintegrating him into a storm of light and energy. With Apep's defeat, order was restored. The gods, exhausted but victorious, gathered in a collective embrace. Seth, with tears in his eyes, looked at Osiris. "I failed, but I learned. Please, accept me back." "We all make mistakes, brother," Osiris replied with a welcoming smile. "What matters now is that we are together." While Geb and Nut embraced, sealing the peace between earth and sky, the gods promised to protect Mot and learn from their mistakes, ensuring that light would always prevail over darkness.